Shabbat Shalom. I think it was Wednesday morning or Thursday morning, I was studying from the different Kabbalists on this week's portion, and I was studying with Monica, and I said it's funny that everything that we're going to talk about today, all the different understandings, are all just from the first word of this week's portion, just from the word Vaykra, and he called. And obviously it gives us some understanding of the depth and wisdom and light that is available obviously throughout the Torah. If all we can talk about during this time is the first word, Vaykra. And there are many lessons, a few of which we can discuss that are learned, that are revealed from that first word. The literal story is that at the end of last week's portion, at the end of Pekudei, the Mishkan, the tabernacle, has been prepared, and now is the time for a great revelation, for the Creator to reveal to Moshe, to Moses, the next level. And therefore this week, on this Shabbat, Vaykra el Moshe. The Creator calls. The word Vaykra comes from the word to call, calls Moshe. We know that the first four letters of that word, the Vav, the Yud, the Kuf, and the Resh, the first four letters are regular size. The last letter, the Aleph, is a small-sized letter. Why? Why is there that difference? And probably more importantly, what light, what gift can we draw from that first word? Rashi, the great Kabbalist and commentator, explains that this call, this voice that came to call, to awaken, to reveal this light to Moshe, to Moses, Hakol holech umagia leoznav v'chol Yisrael lo shom'in. This wasn't, as if Moses is standing amongst all the people and suddenly there's this loud, booming voice that everybody hears that says, Moses, I want you now to come to the Mishkan, to the tabernacle. The commentators, and Rashi specifically, says that this voice, this call, although Moses was surrounded by many other people, was only heard by Moshe, only heard by Moses. Now one can think that the reason that voice was only heard by Moshe, only heard by Moses, is because it was a relatively low voice. But the commentators say no. Rashi continues. Is it possible that the reason why only Moses heard that voice was because it was a low voice? The Rashi says no. Kol Hashem b'koach, it was a very strong voice, the voice of the Creator. Kol Hashem b'hadar, it was a beautiful and loud voice. Kol Hashem shover arazim, it was a voice, and not just the physicality of that voice, but the essence, the light that was revealed through this calling was one that can push away, fend off, break down all kinds of negativity. So this is a great revelation, a very strong calling. The calling represents not just, again, an invitation, but a revelation of light. What is unique about this revelation, what is unique about this calling, is that only Moses, only Moshe heard it. And again, he could have been surrounded by hundreds and thousands of people, but the voice came only to him, this loud, booming voice. And one of the first lessons that we can learn from this, and one of the first gifts that we now can understand are given to us on this Shabbat, is the ability to be a one in 1,000. The Rav would often speak about this, and I know many of us are aware clearly of the difficulties that are happening in our world today. And whenever I would hear the Rav talk to somebody, whether it was about business or family, where there was all kinds of chaos, all kinds of negativity happening around, one of the first things the Rav would say was to awaken within that person, within that student, the understanding that just because all this chaos is occurring around them does not mean that they need to be influenced by it. It is very easy and natural for us to hear and be influenced and assume, well, yes, it's a difficult time now in the world, it's a difficult time now, and all I can do is try to make the best of it. That's one level. What the Torah is telling us in this Shabbat is that we have to understand that we can be like Moses, like Moshe was, the 1 in 1,000. The one who receives that unbelievable light, that unbelievable blessing, even while nobody around him sees anything, while everyone around him sees darkness. The first gift of this Shabbat, the first gift of this reading, from the first word of this reading, is the ability to awaken for ourselves, the ability to elevate, go beyond what is happening around us. And it begins with consciousness. This gift cannot be given to us, cannot be revealed to us, if we are not clear, if we are not strong in our certainty that we can be that 1 in 1,000. And think about this, because this might be a concept that's easy to speak about, but it is very difficult for us to truly maintain this clarity when everything around us is dark, when everything around us is silent. Moshe, the gift that was given to him on this Shabbat was that this loud, this great, this beautiful revelation, this great blessing came to him while everybody around him was in darkness, while everybody around him was in silence. And we receive again, and this is again, it's always great for me when I can give over one of the teachings of the Rav, and this is one of the Rav's most important teachings, that when there is chaos around, the consciousness should not be, because I am connected, because I am developing, growing in my connection to light, to the Creator, I can merit to be stable while there's so much chaos around. We have to elevate ourselves even higher, to the level of Moshe. Even when there is nothing, even when there is darkness, Moshe wasn't expecting or desiring a small voice. He was expecting everything, knowing that he can be the 1 in 1,000. And therefore Moshe merited, again, this reading. Therefore Moshe received this call. And again, the gift, the awakening of consciousness for us on this Shabbat is that there is this opening. There is this availability of the ability to be the 1 in 1,000. And it begins again with consciousness. That because we see chaos around us, because we see darkness around us, does not mean that the best that we can do is survive. The best that we can do is be okay. If we grow in our connection to the light of the Creator, we can have the greatest revelation, as Moshe has here. Not just a small revelation, but the greatest revelation while there is silence, while there is darkness completely surrounding him. And that is the secret of this first word. That this voice, this awakening, this calling, this blessing comes to Moshe. Everybody around him hears nothing. And for him this revelation is the greatest. It is the strongest. It is the complete blessing. And that is the first understanding. There is a nice story that one of the Kabbalists, the Baal HaTurim, speaks of when he talks about the small letter, the Aleph. And we spoke about this concept a little bit, I believe, last week, but it becomes clearer on this Shabbat. Why is there a small Aleph? Why are the first 4 letters large, regular size, and the last letter, the Aleph, represents a smaller letter? He says, Moshe haya gadol ve'anav, ve'lo ratza lichtov ela Vaykra. The word Vaykra represents a specific call to Moshe. It relates, as we just spoke about, a tremendous connection of Moshe to the light of the Creator. Moses did not want anybody to know of his great connection. He wanted to keep it hidden. He wanted to keep it secret. If you take the first 4 letters of the word Vaykra, Vav Yud Kuf Resh, the word Vaykar represents a coincidental calling. Meaning, we know, for instance, as he brings down, that with Bilam, who was not a very positive person, who, although he merited some interaction, some prophecy with the Creator, it was coincidental. It was not constant. It was not strong. It was nowhere near the connection that Moses achieved with the light of the Creator. That intermittent, coincidental connection is represented by the words Vaykra. Coincidentally, every once in a while, intermittently, the light of the Creator called, for instance, to Bilam. Moses argued with the Creator. The Creator tells Moshe, write down the word Vaykra. Write down an indication of our strong connection, of your strong and constant connection to the light of the Creator. And Moses says, no. I don't want anybody to know how strong my connection is. I want them to think that it is coincidental, it is intermittent. Let me write the word Vaykar, meaning although I, Moshe, do receive messages from the Creator, do have some connection to the light of the Creator, it is not constant. It is not intermittent. So he asked the Creator, although you want me to write the word Vaykra, although you want me to indicate the true and strong connection that we have, let me write it Vaykra. Let me write and indicate a coincidental, an intermittent connection. And the Creator says no. He says, there's no way I'm going to let you write the word Vaykra, meaning there's no way I'm going to let you indicate that our connection, that your Moses, your connection to me is anything but strong and constant. He says, the Creator says to Moshe, you have to write that word complete with all the letters. Moshe then says, you know what, even if I have to write the whole word, let me at least leave the last letter, Aleph, small. So that, I use it as a joke, but that if you're reading it from far away, you'll only see the first four letters, Vaykar, which represents an intermittent connection. If you read it closely, then you'll see actually the small Aleph. What is this whole back and forth between Moses and the Creator, where the Creator is pushing Moses to reveal all that he is, all that his connection to the light of the Creator is. And Moshe argues back and forth, first, that there shouldn't be even that last letter, and second, even if it has to be there, that it should be small. And from here we learn a second and very important lesson for those of us who want to merit to be that 1 in 1,000. To the degree that our strength, to the degree that our connection is revealed to the world, to that degree it is diminished. We spoke last week about the concept of approval, how dangerous it is. On this Shabbat, Moshe fights to conceal his connection, because he knows that not only is it dangerous, it actually, any degree of revelation of our importance, of our strength, of our connection, actually diminishes that connection. The reason why Moshe wasn't simply fighting, having an argument with the Creator whether there'll be that last letter, whether it will be large or small, he wasn't fighting just for whether people will know about him. He was fighting for his connection. Because he knew that if his strong connection, if his constant connection to light of the Creator became known to everybody, it will be necessarily diminished. You cannot have a strong connection to light of the Creator if everybody knows about it. Any amount of approval, any amount of knowledge of our greatness, importance, good actions, connection, diminishes it. The more people know of what I am doing, what I have accomplished, the less I have. Moses' argument with the Creator was not, again, so that people don't know how great he was, because he was pious, because he was modest. He was fighting for his connection. He knew that the more people know about his connection, the less connection he will have. And therefore he fights, and he leaves it a small Aleph, because he says to the Creator, he says, if for whatever reason the world has to know some degree of my greatness, some degree of my connection, keep it small. When the letter Aleph is revealed in as a small letter, what it means is that in his generation, the people, although they had some conception of who Moshe was, they did not have a complete clarity about his greatness. And that was on purpose. You read the story throughout the Torah, right? The Israelites are always complaining and have things to say, negative things to say about Moses. That's not a coincidence. If Moses allowed his true essence to be revealed to the world, there wouldn't be one argument. There wouldn't be one complaint. But Moses fought for his greatness to be hidden, because he knew that to the degree that that greatness is hidden, that greatness is diminished. And for us, again, we speak about this, and I think it's a constant in our lives, whether it's with our friends, with our family, with those around us. There is that innate need for appreciation, that innate need for approval, that innate need for people to know who I am and what I do. But when we begin to understand from the battle of Moshe with the Creator, that to the degree that that is revealed, it is diminished. Next time I am upset that somebody doesn't appreciate me, or next time I am upset that somebody hasn't given me the approval or the thanks that I require or deserve, I should stop for 1 second and think, do I want my blessings to be diminished by this? Is it so worth it for me that this person appreciates me, this person says thanks to me, that I want to diminish my light, I want to diminish my blessings? When we understand that balance, that to the degree that I am appreciated, to the degree that I receive approval, my light is diminished, it gives us a completely different perspective about it. And hopefully it gives us an appreciation that I do not want that approval. I do not want people to really know who I am, what I have done, a thank you. Because to the degree that that becomes revealed, it is diminished. And that is the second idea, the second lesson from the word Vaykra, the small aleph. The third idea, we know that, as we spoke about, there's two words representing two levels of consciousness. One is Vaykra, one is Vaykar. One represents a constant connection with the Creator. One represents an intermittent, coincidental relationship to the Creator. We, every single day of our lives, with how we react to situations, create this connection. For instance, many of us, I think, are clear that the big things that happen in our lives, the momentous occasions, hopefully we have a clarity that that is from the Creator. But what about the small things? What about the coincidences? The reality is that every little aspect of our lives comes from the Creator. It says in the Talmud, for instance, that if you want to pay a meter, and you have a quarter and a dime in your pocket, and you put your hand in your pocket, and instead of the quarter that you wanted to put in, you take out the dime, and now you have to put your hand back in your pocket and take out a quarter. That's not a coincidence. There's a reason why that happened. Everything that occurs in our lives comes from the Creator. But our consciousness, our awareness of that understanding either brings the light of the Creator into our lives or pushes the light of the Creator out of our lives. Every day, if it's 10 or 20 or 30 things happen that either consciously or subconsciously we sort of push away as coincidence. I missed that light, this person said that, I came 5 minutes late to this. All kinds of little things happen in our lives. And every time those things happen, we make a choice. If we see them as a coincidence, what we are doing with that consciousness is saying to the Creator, you are not 100%, your light is not 100% in my life. And that consciousness actually pushes the light of the Creator out. And it goes even a little deeper. Very often in our day, something happens that upsets us. Something happens that disappoints us. Somebody says something, How do we react to that situation? Not the big things, not the sort of, the huge, sort of terrible fights, the huge and terrible disagreements or negative things that occur in our lives, right? Because that's a different category. But how do we react to the small things? With which, logic dictates that, I should be upset. Using a simple example, I came here today, and this hasn't happened, but let's assume this happened, and I heard that somebody said something to a friend of mine negative about me. What's my reaction? I think 90% of us, if not more, will be upset at the person who said this negative thing, and that will also be a little disappointed at the person who heard it, because maybe they'll think less of us now. That reaction is very clear, meaning what I am saying is that is not from the Creator. That is this person who said it to that person, and I am hurt by it. That decision, which is indicated by my reaction to that situation, my anger, my disappointment, is a clear indication that I do not see that as coming from the Creator. The first thing that happens is that I now have, through that reaction, because of the consciousness that has to come with that, have pushed the Creator a little bit, that light, out of my life. Because what my consciousness is, indicates, creates my connection. If I have now decided that was a coincidence, and that was this person doing something wrong to me, and this person unfortunately being influenced by that coincidental action, I have, through that decision, pushed the light of the Creator out of my life to some degree. And this happens throughout the day, where I have a logical reason to be upset. I have a logical reason to be disappointed. I have a logical reason to be hurt. That's one path that unfortunately most of us, too many of us, follow too many times. The other side, it says in the Talmud, Adam ubehema toshia Hashem. The Creator, it says, assists humans and animals. And to explain that verse, they say, this is not referring to two categories of beings, meaning animals and humans, but rather, who does the Creator give His light to? Who does the Creator send His blessings to? To a person who has logic, who has understanding, and pushes aside his logic like an animal, meaning he diminishes his understanding. He diminishes his logic. Practically what this means in this situation, I come here today and I hear that this one friend of mine said something negative about me to this other friend. If my reaction is, I know that there's some logic that can get me upset here, right? He said something negative about me, that's one reason to be upset. This other friend heard something negative about me, that's a second reason to be upset. That's my logic. But I am going to push that logic aside. I am not going to fall to that logic. I'm going to say, I'm going to know that it came from the Creator. And if it came from the Creator, it's for my best. And if it's for my best, I can only be happy about it. I can certainly not be bothered by it. Adam ubehema toshia Hashem. That consciousness connects me to the light of the Creator. When we have logical reasons to be hurt, to be disappointed, to be upset, and we push that logic aside, we draw blessings, we draw all kinds of connections into our life. There's a beautiful statement from one of the Kabbalists, the Shemi Shmuel, speaking about this concept on this Shabbat. He says that a person who lives in this way, meaning he's constantly taking that logical argument for why he should be upset, why he should be disappointed, why he should be hurt, and pushes that logic aside, he says, Notnim lo dat min hashamayim. The first gift is going to be 4 or 5 different gifts you receive in living in this way. The first gift you receive is you receive knowledge, understanding, wisdom from above. Ve'az nosha bechol ha'inyanim. And you receive assistance in all areas of your life. That's 2. And he continues to explain the logic of this. He says, Me'achar she'adam mevatel da'ato. When you diminish that logic, when you push away that logic, umashlich mimeno kol ha'tkashrut sheyesh lo li'nyanei olam hazeh, and you remove your logical conscious connection to the physicality of this world. Because why am I upset by this person speaking bad about me and disappointed now that this friend of mine has heard something negative about me? It is of this world, of the physical material world. When I push aside that logic, I am disconnecting to a certain degree from the physicality of this world. And that action actually binds, elevates my soul higher and stronger to its source, to the light of the Creator. And through that elevation of my soul, through that pushing away of the logic, I can draw all kinds of flow, all kinds of blessing from the Creator. If you realize this understanding, it can change almost every day of our lives. And I just want to repeat it again because this is, for me, a very exciting understanding, and I think for all of us, a very important one. Every time, and think about your day today or yesterday, because today we just started off, yesterday or the day before, how many times throughout that day did you hear something that bothered you? Somebody said something, somebody did something, my friend disappointed me, etc., etc. And realize that our reaction to most, if not all, of those situations was a coincidence. That friend disappointed me. It has nothing to do with the light of the Creator, right? It's just that friend happened to do something negative towards me. That other friend happened to listen to it, so it's doubly bad. Or all of those situations, in our mind, we saw them as purely coincidental. We now realize, hopefully, that when that was my reaction, I did something very important. I pushed the light of the Creator out of my life. Because I said, in these areas of my life, you're not involved. These are coincidences. These are people interacting with me coincidentally. So that's the first thing that I've done. I have pushed the light of the Creator out of my life to a certain degree. And now let's step to the other side. How could I have used those opportunities as unbelievable connections? And hope that from this moment on, we actually start, we can't expect ourselves to be perfect, but to change, if not 50% of them, 60% of them. Every time, today, the next day, throughout our lives, that somebody does something happens in our lives that is a disappointment, that is upsetting, we have to stop and realize that this is a tremendous opportunity for these 4 blessings, and we'll repeat them. When I take this logic, which is, my logic dictates that this person hurt me, this person disappointed me. I take that logic, I push it aside. I say, I am not going to pay attention to that logic. I receive understanding and wisdom from above. I am, as he says, nosha bechol ha'inyanim. I receive assistance in all areas of my life. My soul elevates and gets bound higher to its source, higher to the light of the Creator. And 4, moshech kol minei hashpaot. I draw all blessings, all kinds of different blessings into my life. Who amongst us would rather, in that situation next time, push the light of the Creator out of our lives rather than draw these 4 blessings? But we have to understand it. This, again, happens all day. And how we react to these situations is going to be that decision. Either I lose my logic and I am hurt and disappointed because of these coincidental events, thereby pushing the light of the Creator out of my life to a certain degree, or I say no. I'm going to stop. I'm going to realize that this is an unbelievable opportunity to diminish, to push aside my logic, and through that draw these 4 levels of blessings. If we truly understand this concept and start truly living it, it changes everything. Besides the fact that we're no longer hurt, we're no longer disappointed, we also have this opening to a constant elevation in our lives. This is, again, like I said, both an important understanding, but for me, and I hope for all of us now, an exciting new way to live our lives. An exciting new way to live our lives. The third idea that I'd like to share is my most for me, the most exciting. The previous one was exciting. This one for me is the most exciting of the gifts of this Shabbat. It says in the Midrash, in talking about this week's first word, Vaykra el Moshe, how did Moses merit to be called? How did he merit to be that 1 in 1,000? How did he merit this great elevation? It says that throughout the time that Moses was building the Mishkan, the tabernacle, in the previous weeks, on every piece of the tabernacle, he wrote down the name of the Creator, the name of God. And the Midrash brings a parable, an example to explain the interaction here. It brings an example of a king who calls his servant. And he says to his servant, I want you to build for me a palace. And the servant goes and he starts building the palace, and on every part of the palace, he writes down the king's name. On every chair that he builds, he writes down the king's name. On every table he builds, he writes down the king's name. On every brick in the wall, he writes the king's name. He builds this beautiful palace with all the furniture inside. It's done. The king comes inside and he says, my servant built all this for me. It's not right that I should be sitting in here and he should be outside. And therefore he calls that servant inside to be with him, lifnai v'lifnim, to the innermost chamber. And the Midrash says that's what's occurring to Moses on this Shabbat. Moses invested all of his effort into building the tabernacle, into writing the name of the Creator, the name of God on all the parts of the tabernacle. Therefore he merits to be in the innermost chamber, meaning he merits this tremendous calling, this tremendous elevation of the Shabbat. This parable, this explanation needs to be understood. And to begin the understanding, I'd like to share a section from the Zohar in Behar. It says in the Zohar, Elada Raza. It's not often that the Zohar writes that it is about to reveal a secret. And obviously when it does, we should pay attention to it. And here in Behar, the Zohar says, I'm going to reveal a secret now. The Zohar brings an example. If you have an ox and you want to plow your land, the first thing you have to do is put the yoke on the ox, and then you can use the ox to plow the land. And then, if you've put that yoke on the ox and it starts walking through your field, it will be plowed. But if the ox does not accept upon him that yoke, then the ox can walk around throughout the whole field and do nothing good. Nothing positive will come from this ox unless you first put that yoke on him. Hachanami, so too the Zohar says, a person, we, in order to be able to accomplish anything of significance in this world, we have to first accept this, they call it a yoke, we have to understand what it is, but a certain level of acceptance, a certain level of this spiritual yoke. And then, the Zohar says, you can do anything. If you accept upon yourself this yoke, you can do anything. If you do not accept this yoke initially, you can do nothing. So the Zohar here is saying a very stark statement. Just like with the ox, if he does not have that yoke on him, he can walk through the field all day and all night for thousands of years, accomplish zero. So too, every single one of us, if we take upon ourselves this yoke, we can do anything, the Zohar says. And if we don't, we can do nothing. What is this yoke? It says in the Talmud, there's a concept, shlucho shel adam kmoto. A person's messenger is exactly like him. In today's world, it's called, for instance, power of attorney. Let's assume, for instance, you have a friend who has a tremendous amount of money, he's a billionaire, and he gives you power of attorney to buy property, businesses. You might be completely penniless, right? You might not have a penny in your pocket, but if you have the power of attorney from this very wealthy man, you can buy up billions of dollars worth of property and businesses. So this power of attorney obviously says nothing about you, except for the fact that although you don't have a penny to your name, you have the ability to buy endlessly. The same is true, the Zohar is telling us, with the Creator. If we become, in our lives, and we have to understand what it means to become, a pure and complete messenger of the Creator, what the Kabbalists call an angel of the Creator, then you can do anything. Anything the Creator can do, you as His messenger can do. And it says nothing about our spiritual level, meaning we do not have to be a tremendously elevated soul if we are an angel of the Creator, if we are a messenger of the Creator. In this week's portion, the Kabbalists teach that Moses elevated to this level of being an angel of the Creator. And they quote the verse, Giburej koach, malachav Giburej koach. The people who are truly connected as messengers, as angels of the Creator, they have the strength, the ability to do anything. So think about that for a moment. First of all, the Zohar says, again, a very clear statement. We either accept this responsibility or not. And if we do, we can do anything. If we do not, we can do nothing. But setting that aside, the first realization is that every single one of us can become this messenger. And what this means is that we can then do anything. We can heal, we can bless, we can eventually, if we achieve this level, even resurrect the dead. If you become, using the same example of the power of attorney, once you have that power of attorney, you have a zero to your name. But you have that power of attorney from a very wealthy man, you can buy anything. Whatever powers, whatever money he has, you can use. The same is true as we become angels of the Creator, as we become messengers of the Creator. If and when we achieve that level, we can do everything. I was reading today a story. In the morning, my kids often ask for stories of the Baal Shem Tov, of the great Kabbalists. So I was reading this one story. It's a relatively lengthy story, but I'll make it short. The story is that the Baal Shem Tov once elevated to the upper worlds. And he asked Mashiach, what's called the Messiah, but that person who will come into this world once we have collectively achieved this level of Gmar HaTikun, the end of the correction. When are you coming? When are you going to come into this world? And he said to the Baal Shem Tov, he says, when your wisdom is revealed in the world, and everybody, or at least enough people, have the ability to do what you can do. And we know the Baal Shem Tov was able to heal the sick and give blessings and do all kinds of miracles. When enough people in this world can do what you can do, then I will come. Now it says that the Baal Shem Tov was actually happy by this answer. And if you think about it, I think most of us would become depressed by this answer. If the answer was, till enough people, become spiritual, we can see that. But how could we understand that there's going to come a time, and hopefully soon, when all of us will have the power of the Baal Shem Tov, will have the power to heal and to bless? The answer is this secret, is this Shabbat. Malachav Giburej koach. We, every single one of us, can and need to become an angel with great strength. But think about this, because what does it mean when I am a servant, when I am a messenger of the light of the Creator? It means that my entire life revolves around that task. How do I earn becoming this angel? How do I earn becoming a messenger for the light of the Creator? Well, what is your life? What are your worries? What are your thoughts? What are your focus? That we cannot, it's not as simple as saying, and the Shem Shmuel, in speaking about this concept, says, unfortunately, Not everybody merits this level, because this isn't just a concept, when my friend is sick, I'll meditate for 2 seconds before and say, okay, now I'm a messenger for the Creator and I'll go and heal him. It doesn't work that way. Being an angel of the Creator, being a messenger of the Creator, is our entire life. It doesn't just come in when we need it. And therefore we have to ask ourselves, if I want, and I hope enough of us want, to become this angel of the Creator, well, how does my life have to be? As a messenger of the Creator, what worries do I have in my day? What do I focus on? What concerns me? What upsets me? What disappoints me? And think about it, because this is a long thought process, because we'll realize that too much of what we worry about, what we think about, what we focus about, is not as a messenger of the Creator. When we realize that we can and are meant to achieve this level of being messenger of the Creator, having the ability to do everything the Creator can do. But it has to do with how we view ourselves, how we live our lives. The Shem Shmuel explains that this level is what's called Mochin de Gadlut. Those of you who've studied from the writings of Rav Isaac Luria, the Ari, know this is considered the highest level of consciousness, the highest level of revelation, which, by the way, we receive on Pesach. This Mochin of Gadlut. But this is where we are all meant to go. And this is, for me, the most exciting gift of this Shabbat. First of all, to understand that on this Shabbat, Moses achieved that level of becoming a mal'achav Giburej koach. He became an angel, a strong angel for the light of the Creator. And therefore that channel is open to all of us on this Shabbat. To know that we can and are meant to achieve this level of becoming an angel, a messenger of the light of the Creator, being able to do everything the Creator can. But the next stage, next question then has to be, well, how does my life need to be focused and lived in order for me to truly exemplify, to truly be an angel of the Creator? And if we think in that way and make those changes, we can. And through the light of the Shabbat, the gift, this tremendously exciting gift of this Shabbat, to begin the process of becoming an angel of the Creator, attaining and having the ability to do everything the Creator can. Shabbat Shalom.